to Gopinath. He says, well, in the previous verse, he said, Gopinath said, "My dear Bhattacharya, exactly as I foretold, this has happened to you." And then the Bhattacharya very humbly, instead of getting defensive, he very humbly bowed down and he offered his obeisances. Well, he didn't, I don't know if he bowed down, but it's namaskar. Namaskar means he offered his respects to his friend, his brother-in-law, and he said to him, Tomara Sambandhi Prabhu. Prabhu, because you are I'm related to you. Sambandhi means relationship. Because we have a relationship. Because you're my friend. Prabhu, Kripa Kalamore, I have received mercy. Because you are my friend, therefore I've received mercy, Prabhu, of Sri Krishna Chaitanya. And then he goes further in the next verse, he says, Tumi Mahabhagavata, you are a Mahabhagavata, a great devotee. Ami Takarante, Takarante means in the darkness of logical arguments. That's me. Tumi means you are Mahabhagavata, but Ami, I'm in the darkness of logical arguments. Prabhu Kripa Kaila More, I have received the mercy of Prabhu, Tumara Sambandhi. Again he says the same thing, just because of my relationship with you. So that's how to preach to a great scholar. That's also how to change the heart of any great intellectual person is actually not by argument, paradoxically. Because after all, people with great intellect, they can use their intellect to justify anything. They can turn everything on its head if they want, which is what Lord Chaitanya used to do a lot when he was a young man in Navadvip. He used to challenge all his friends to debates, and then he'd defeat them, and then he would then turn the argument round, and he would deny what he'd just proven. And he proved that too. So Krishna has he's given us the intelligence to convince ourselves whatever it is we want to believe. He will help us to believe that. That's what he says in the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever a person's faith is, I will make it strong. If you want to forget me, then I will also give you forgetfulness. But the power of association is so great, and this is what happened with Sarvabhauma. He says, it was you, Gopinath. You told me, and I didn't believe you, but because of your friendship and Gopinath gave him a lot of instruction. He sort of prepared the way. Okay, so it wasn't totally wasted, because he did explain to Bhattacharya. He said, no, he really is the incarnation of God. So he planted the seed, we could say that. He planted the seed of the idea in the Bhattacharya's mind. But it wasn't until Lord Chaitanya gave him his mercy that he actually understood. So reading on. No, before we do that. And that's the way the Krishna consciousness movement has got established in the wide world. It's really been a case of mercy. There can be no question about it. Kripa. In the Nectar Devotion, there's some discussion of how one makes advancement in devotional service. On the one hand, There is sadhana. And sadhana is our foundation that by the practice of, by spiritual practice we make progress. But there's also kripa, mercy. And in his explanation in this section in the Nectar of Devotion, Prabhupada says, we should never assume, that we can depend on kripa, on the mercy of the Guru. We must practice sadhana. But the reality is, and so I think we often used to speculate, well, are we sadhana siddhi or kripa? We actually used to think that. I remember discussing it often. Did we come to Krishna consciousness by practice? Or kripa, by mercy? How could there have been any doubt? Now, in retrospect, I couldn't imagine. Because it was really just a case of Prabhupada's mercy. He just made friends in the early days. He made friends with a small circle of young men and women. Yamuna told me how when in the 1968, Prabhupada had been preaching in America for a couple of years, and he fell very ill. He had a heart attack, and he was recuperating on the west coast, and it was finally decided he was going to go back to India. So he left, and when he left, there was great sorrow and consternation, because the devotees honestly didn't know if he was going to survive. They thought he wanted to go to Vrindavan. He thought that India would be good for him. He might recover there. And they didn't know if he would recover and if he'd come back. They'd been with him long enough to become deeply attached, but not long enough perhaps to learn all the things he had to teach. And so there was great sorrow, and there was also in Prabhupada's sight great sorrow. There was a picture, I think Gurudas caught a photograph of him as he was just getting into the car to go to the airport and looking sorrowfully back at the devotees, and there were tears in his eyes. He was very distressed. So anyway, he went back to India, and as soon as he got there, he began to feel better. He said the heat was very good for him. And within a few weeks, he was already making plans, for returning, but also he started making plans for in Vrindavan to have an international house where he could bring his disciples to learn about Krishna consciousness in Vrindavan. So Yamuna told me when Prabhupada came back to America, he came by the Pacific route. So he flew directly into San Francisco, and they met him at the airport and brought him to, she actually vacated her apartment, her and Gurudas, and Prabhupada stayed there. And to their astonishment, he sat down and he's surrounded by the few devotees. And he called for his suitcase and had the suitcase opened, and he began taking out saris and calling each of the girls forward and giving them saris. So he had thought, when I come back, I must bring some saris for these girls. With so much affection. That's not the act of a formal guru. That's the act of a friend. And maybe like an uncle or a father figure. He's thinking that way. And